Brought to you by Trauma Informed LA, Our Stories Matter presents Season 5, We Will Dance Again. I'm Associate Professor Susie Hess, joined by Dr. Mary Bar-Halpern. Together, we arrived in Israel in the wake of the October 7th massacre to bear witness to a mosaic of trauma, resilience, and resistance in a region at war, and an American academic world shaken by rising hate. This season, we delve into the raw, often untold stories of Jews, Arabs, and Christians, revealing journeys of hope and strength. Our mission is to build a bridge of compassion and understanding through trauma toward post-traumatic growth. How do we rise from trauma to forge a path of healing and resilience in a fractured world? Join us as we find out.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we have the pleasure of having Eitan Chitayat, a brand builder, creative director, a founder of the international Natie Branding Agency. Eitan has lived around the world, Hong Kong, London, Tel Aviv, New York, Boston, and has been a judge in advertising and finance competition. The One Show, he created I'm That Jew, a real video that has been seen over 10 million times on various platforms. I've seen that. It's amazing. You should watch it. And he's also the co-creator of She's That Woman, founded the 5% Club, and founding chapter member of the Entrepreneur Organization Israel. Welcome, Eitan.
Hey, welcome to me and welcome to you. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So, Eitan, one thing that we always ask our guests is, where were you on October 7th?
I was at a friend's wedding in Germany, around 2.5 hours outside of Munich, without my wife and kids. It was just me on some remote farm, and I woke up on Saturday morning to the news.
For you, what inspired you to start talking about the war in social media?
I've been talking about being Jewish very openly for almost 2 decades now, and I try, as an Israeli who's lived in many different countries and who's proudly Jewish, just to wear it on my sleeve. Speaking up is not something new to me, because I released the I'm That Jew film, which was around 12 years ago or something like that. And it kind of exploded on Facebook. So my audience has predominantly been for the past 10, 15 years on Facebook, where I have a following there. But I've been very, very vocal for a long time there. And since October the 7th, I did nothing new. I just spoke up, but I started, I guess my work started spreading on different platforms, like a lot on LinkedIn, a lot on Instagram, on Twitter. But it wasn't something new. I've always worn my heritage and my identity proudly.
I love that, because for me, it's new. I became speaking out on October 8th, because before I was taught to hide. And, I have been an activist at USC and beyond for other groups. And then at October 8th, I was hoping that those groups would be with me, which they were not. And so I have lost a lot of friends and colleagues. I mean, so much has changed, since October 7th for me. And I'm wondering for you, since you've always been speaking out clearly, have you experienced any personal or professional backlash since October 7th?
Yeah, of course. I've always gotten backlash. It starts with just socially being open about being Israeli at any period, whether it's in the past decade or even 3 decades ago. It's always kind of controversial because so many people don't know what being Israeli is like. They just see what they see on the news. And what you see on the news is kind of the media stirring up drama. There is drama, but they amplify it. So it's always controversial. And if you think about how many Jews there are on the planet, and we know this, but a lot of non-Jewish people don't know this, but like 0.2% is, 15 million people, where there are 2 billion Christians and 1.6, 1.9 billion Muslims. Many people have never even met a Jew. I just feel that it's important to just be able to say who you are. Unfortunately, that's met with controversy because people are ignorant. So it can be, when I started working in America as a copywriter in advertising and the Twin Towers came down, while I was in the States, talking to Americans at the time about that and the Middle East, which the average American didn't know much about. It led to some very interesting conversations, which are not comfortable. Since October the 7th, I've been even more vocal and more in your face. And yeah, my profession, I have a branding agency. It's taken a hit, but this is the fight of our times. This is the existential threat. And if we don't speak up, then no one else will. So to me, I take it as a responsibility as a father to my children, as a friend to the Jewish community, to just do what's necessary. And to me, I think that the most important thing that the Jewish people can do right now, the most critical thing, is to say you're Jewish. That is it, because that is the starting point. And if you can't say that, then you're in trouble. So I think that whether it's in the public domain, in the social domain, in the professional domain, you have to. You absolutely have to. And I've always led by example, but I've taken a hit.
There's so much to unpack with what you're saying, because I started following you actually from LinkedIn. And there was it's not a campaign, I don't know how to call it, but there is one of the project that you were doing with I'm That Jew, where you take a lot of different people, famous people, and having them own that. I have to say, for me, that was inspiring, because living in the US, in Boston, where anti-Semitism is like everywhere right now. It's funny. So I decided to live in Boston because I loved academia and I wanted my kids to grow up in this academia environment and all of that. And I'm like, great, look what I did for you guys. And I keep going back and forth with I have 2 young kids, like, you should hide your identity. You should not hide your identity. And as a psychologist, I know how damaging it is to hide your identity. The fact that that idea of telling my son, Noam, don't speak Hebrew to me, was devastating. And I did it once and I never did it again. And then there was this whole identifying with Israel. So I have outside our house, there is a sign. We have 2 signs. One is I stand with Israel, and the other one is United Against Anti-Semitism. And then I have the ribbons to release the hostages. But it took me a while not to be afraid of owning that. And it started slow. It started with, I'm just going to put the ribbons, because how can someone be against returning the hostages? Then I put the anti-Semitism sign. And then I put the sign of, I stand with Israel because I'm Israel. Like, this is who I am. And the thought of hiding my identity was horrible. And the day we put it, my son came over and he's like, Ima, I'm so proud you put that sign. Right? And it's like, okay, there's something good about being who we are and being proud of that. And like you said, lead by example, especially as a parent.
Yeah, well, first of all, kol hakavod, because that's not easy. And it isn't. It's scary right now to be Jewish, but it's who we are. And there's nothing wrong with it. On the contrary, there's a lot of amazing, wonderful, beautiful things, and we should be proud of it. And we are. One of the things that you're bringing up is we are proud. The vast majority of us are proud of our heritage. The vast majority of us are inwardly proud. That's not good. You have to be outwardly proud. And that's not something that a lot of people are talking about. Like, I'm wearing this, as you can see, the I'm That Jew shirt, which, by the way, I want people to get. So if anyone wants to get it, they can go to starsofthetribe.com and they can pick up that campaign there. Yeah, and they also have honorary Jew ones. If you're not Jewish, you can buy all sorts of things there. And I think that the reason, and it doesn't matter who you get it from, the reason why it's important to show that you're Jewish right now, I think, is because it's like that campaign that you mentioned. So I put out the film I'm That Jew, which is actually, it's been seen over 15 million times. But a lot of people don't know that there's a film. But that film was made years ago. And the campaign that I created recently, and it's not from my branding agency, it's literally me and my wife trying to do all of these banners that you've seen. And they've been seen around, 25 million, 30 million times now. And the reason I put that out there was to be outwardly proud, to not keep it to ourselves, meaning we're going to celebrate Jewish people who are, yes, famous, but there are also quite a few non-famous people in the campaign. And the banners are colorful and they're optimistic and they're proud and they're in your face. And there are men and there are women and there are Black people and Asian people and there are Jewish people and also Jewish allies. The idea for that campaign is we are being dehumanized actively. We are being presented as genocide supporters, as colonialists, as people who believe and relish in apartheid. That's it. We're just like, we've become a stereotype. And it's not like we don't have that bad enough as it is as Jewish people, with the whole, we own the banks, we own the media, we own everything. So what you do when you show your Jewish pride and when you are outwardly proud is you are determining your narrative. You're dictating your narrative. You're not allowing someone else to say what you are. You're saying what you are. And that's the problem with hiding your identity. And that's what we do. We're inwardly proud. We are quiet about it. Now, I'm not saying that you need to walk down the street wearing Jewish merchandise all the time, although I would suggest that right now. What I'm saying is that when you go to a new job and you're introduced around the table and you get to stand up and, there's 30 people there and, hey, here's Miriam. She's just joined the company. Miriam, will you stand up and introduce yourself? And hi, my name is Miriam Goldberg. I'm Jewish. I'm a mother. To just say it, to own it, and to not hide it. Hiding it doesn't mean shouting it. Hiding it means just being able to say it. Because when you don't, you let other people dictate who you are. And that's what we and our leadership, or Jewish leadership, not Israeli, Jewish global organizations, that's where they have failed us. They have failed us with narrative. I cannot stress enough how important it is to be openly Jewish, to not hide it, to say it. There is nothing to be ashamed of at all.
I mean, you're saying we're human, basically, just like any other person. But I think what you're saying is also deeper, where it hit chords for me. It's the opposite. You're fighting intergenerational trauma. Because when you think about it, since the Holocaust, or maybe even before, most Jewish people were taught you need to hide. Like Susie was saying, she was taught hide who you are, especially Jews outside of Israel. And the fact that you're saying opposite, you should fight against that instinct, is by itself healing. Because you're taking agency for your future and you're saying, I would not be a victim. I would not let whatever happened in the past to my ancestor or the history determine my faith right now. I'm going to own it. It's such a strength-based way of looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like writing all your words. Outwardly proud. Obviously, I'm that Jew. This is the first time I'm wearing a Star of David, but this just happened like a few months ago. I never had any Jewish bling, before October 7th. And I love that. I love being outwardly proud and not to have that fear, in order to sort of dismantle those false narratives of who we are and what people are creating, which are the false narratives of Jews. And so then I started thinking, how do you navigate all the misinformation as an influencer?
I'm not sure that you can right now. I think, which is not the answer that anyone wants to hear, I'm sure. I'm a brand builder. I mean, I specialize in communication and branding for a living. I've had almost 30 years experience of working with some of the top brands in the world. And I can tell you this, when you don't speak, when you're silent as a brand, as a company, then your competitors will take advantage of that silence and they'll outplay you. They'll put you out of business. Imagine that you're a company that hates another company. They'll absolutely destroy you. So that's what our enemies, the enemies of the Jewish people, not Israel, the enemies of the Jewish people have been investing in their narrative with a very specific agenda of hate and intolerance and to defame and to put down and to spread lies about our people. That's the agenda for decades. I'm talking about 40 years. I mean, the hatred towards Israel, 75 years. The narrative against the Jewish people, hundreds of years, thousands of years. But in the last 30 to 40 years, there's been a coordinated effort by our enemies to put out a narrative which is meant to demonize the Jewish people and the Jewish state. So when you ask me, how do you navigate the misinformation, you're talking about you, Susie, up against a narrative of 40 years that has exploded now. And it's very important to see it in that context and to understand there's a short-term answer and there's a long-term answer. The short-term answer right now is to lean into your Jewish people and to lean into Jewish allies and to make noise and to just say it anyway. I think that's the first step, to fight. The long-term answer is going to be decades of narrative war. It needs to happen to start changing and turning the tide, which means that you have to lean into your own narrative, determine your own narrative as a people. It needs to make sure that message is getting out to the middle ground. It requires vision. It requires strategy. It requires truth. It requires tenacity. It requires funding. And it requires consistency. And it requires leadership, not leadership of people who know how to deliver brand. That's critical. But it needs leadership of people who understand how necessary that is, meaning the leaders of the Jewish people need to wake up and need to understand that the failure of Jewish leadership, we can debate October 7th and how it happened, and that's something that needs to happen. But one thing that is not debatable is, had we had a narrative that we had invested in and put money into and spent time realizing how important it was and implementing it for decades, October 8th, in terms of public opinion, would not have been what it is. We were outplayed, outmaneuvered, outspent. We're outnumbered anyway. So how do you counter it? You counter it by pulling up your sleeves right now, every single Jewish person on the planet, and saying you're Jewish, and making sure that our leadership understands how important it is to be able to say and to invest in the fact that you should say that you are Jewish, which is a number one priority. It saves lives ultimately. Literally, it will save lives. Because when you are able to say that, and you're able to push that narrative for decades, then the political pressure that we need when we're at war, and when I say we, I mean here in Israel, but I also mean the Jewish people who are at war in their streets and in their communities and on their campuses. It's a war, and you need the political leadership to have your back. They won't have your back if the other side is louder. They won't have your back if they're scared of speaking up. They won't have your back if they're buying into the fact that you are the devil incarnate. You need to invest in that, because it will literally, I think, save lives.
There's part of me that listens to and I'm like, oh, we're fucked. It's like, especially when it doesn't look like this is where the leaders are putting their efforts in. And there's a part of me also thinks, my brain constantly working. It's like, oh, we should come up with assertiveness training for Jewish college students to own their identity and all of that. And, there is like this idea of we can disappear. And the fact that there is, I'm thinking college campuses, I constantly have this debate with my husband about, he thinks it's a very loud minority that just shouts very loudly. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm thinking to what you're saying, I don't think there is enough Jewish people that owns their Judaism or own their pride to be there as well.
Yeah, I think that you're right. There aren't enough Jewish people speaking up. There are some people that say, give up on them. They hate each other. I'm not, they hate their Jewishness or they're cowards. And I don't believe that that's true. I think it's scary. And I think that you have to do it one person at a time. For anyone who is not speaking up, that's okay. If you're not ready, then, but get ready to, because there aren't that many of us. The other thing is, yeah, it's a loud minority maybe, but to me, that's not the point. The point is, if you really pay attention to what's happening in the States, at least, this minority is putting out a narrative that is not being countered with moral clarity by non-Jewish leadership, by non-Jewish communities. That's the scary thing to me. It's not that if this happened and people aren't speaking up and they let this slide, what else are they going to let slide? If people are not making noise about something that is clearly wrong because they don't even know that it's wrong, then that's a wake-up call. And that's why you need to say that you're Jewish. You need to be the pain in the ass that wakes people up, for us and for them. When people are silent in the face of tyranny, everyone will suffer. So, I'm doing it for my kids. And I was doing it before my kids. I was doing it for my family. I was doing it for me, speaking up is so important. And I take great pleasure in speaking up, even when there are so many people who are saying, terrible things about me and death threats and all of that. Like, fuck you. You don't get to determine who I am. You can lie and you can lie and you can lie. But I will not let that lie go unanswered. The day I do is the end of me. It means I'm living a reality that isn't true. And that's not to say that we're perfect. I mean, we have some real shitheads amongst our people too. We have racists, we have misogynists, we have people who sow division, we have criminals, we have it all. We're not perfect, but for the most part, I think that we have very good values as a people, and we should speak up about them, and we need to lean into each other. If we all speak up, if we can get to more people speaking up, then it'll empower those who are not. It'll strengthen. It's so important. It's like to me, it's the most important thing that our leadership is not investing in. I can tell you, and I've said this on many interviews, the silence from Jewish organizations towards people like me and others like me who are speaking up, the lack of support that we're getting is indicative of how much they don't understand what is critical. You'd expect, people are shocked when I say that Jewish leadership has not approached me and some other people. Nothing. They don't get it.
Which is crazy to me, because this is where there's the most, especially for the college students, they're on social media, they're on LinkedIn, they're seeing they're not going to open the news, actually, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, I don't know. But this is what they're going to see is Instagram, maybe Facebook if they're a bit older, like TikTok, LinkedIn, this is where the money should be going. This is where they should have the efforts, because this is where also the false narratives are.
Yeah, it's not only that. It's not just social media. It's just Jewish pride. It's literally like, I created a jewelry chain, a jewelry line with Miriam Marenfeld, who's amazing. It's just like, wear it. Oh, miriammarenfeld.com, and you can go and you can see my collection with her. But I mean, the idea is you speak. Don't wait for Jewish leaders. Don't wait for Jewish organizations. The change will come from us. Just like the change to put Israel back on its feet after October 7th, it wasn't the government. It wasn't Jewish organizations. I mean, Jewish organizations funneled the money, but it was the people. It was the people. The people need to speak up about being Jewish. I mean, I've mentioned this before in interviews as well, that in my head, I have a vision of a demonstration in the next big demonstration in America with 300,000 people all wearing Jewish shirts. I'm that Jew shirts, Zionist shirts, whatever. Because what is it actually doing? It's saying, I'm saying this. I'm wearing my Jewish jewelry. I'm not going to let you tell me who I am, and I'm not going to be afraid to say who I am. Those are the things that are critical right now. And I agree, it's the most neglected thing in all of this catastrophe that we faced. It's the most neglected thing, and it's the most obvious thing to me, the most obvious thing that we should be investing in. So I'm grateful for people who are speaking up.
I love that. So I have a question, but I'll provide context since I didn't do it the last time. So context. So at USC, as I said, I was not necessarily hiding at USC, but just not out there. Then October 7th, then I was like, wait, how come no one's condemning anti-Semitism? I thought the school, I was just like, I shouldn't have been surprised now, but I was. So then I started a Jewish affinity group for students, a Jewish affinity group for faculty. And now we started, we don't know what we're called, but like Jewish Life. So at USC School of Social Work. So my question for you is like, we're so small because not everyone wanted to come out and, do this. In fact, I said this on another episode, I was told that I was too angry, too upset about anti-Semitism, which is fine. I pushed back and I'm still, pushing forward. But my question is, when there's such a small group, for example, on the campuses, how do we what can campuses do at universities? Because there's only 5 of us, let's say, which actually that's true. There's only a few students, a few faculty that wanted to be identified as part of this group. So what do you think campuses, universities, faculty, students, what can we do? as we are in 1 year of the anniversary?
I think it starts with us. I mean, I know that I can answer your question in the inspiring way and everything, but honestly, nothing is going to happen unless the Jewish community comes together. It's much bigger than universities. Jewish people need to lean into the Jewish community. Jewish people need to get active. Jewish people need to know what it is to be Jewish. I'm secular. I'm completely secular. You know, I Yom Kippur I do, and Rosh Hashanah and Pesach, but I'm a secular Jew. But I'm very connected to my heritage. You have a big problem in the States with assimilation. And I don't mean assimilation of people leaving the faith. I mean just not knowing what being Jewish is. If you don't care about being Jewish, you're not going to speak up. You're not going, but they're going to come after you anyway, So what is the first step? The first step to me is leaning into your heritage, is learning about being Jewish, is reading Jewish literature. It's sending your kids to Jewish schools or Sunday school. It is being part of a Jewish group, and coming to Israel and getting in touch with your Jewish roots. I think that that's the first step. Imagine if everyone did that. Just for a second, imagine that everyone did that and not a small portion of the Jewish people. Then there would be more community. And when you have more community, you're stronger. And when you're stronger, you have confidence. And when you have confidence, you'll speak up. And then when you speak up, then you'll be on that fucking campus. As you asked me, and what can we do? Well, you've got people now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the dots are there. I can see them connected. No one can see, or at least to me, sees how important that is and how that will help the end game, whether it's on a campus, whether it's policy, whether it's diplomatic relations with Israel, whether it's moral clarity when it comes to Judeo-Christian values in whichever country you're in, and Jewish people being involved in pushing Western values, which I feel are, we've been as a people very proactive in getting out there and helping to determine in the world. To answer your question, what can Jewish people on campus do right now is to lean the fuck in to people, contact me, contact other Jewish advocates, contact Jewish organizations. I'm working with a group of students right now, which by the time this interview comes out, I hope it will be out. It's an app called Campus, which I'm helping them brand, which is a one-stop online platform to help unify and mobilize Jewish students around America. Yeah, hopefully it will be out by the time this interview comes out. Join that. I think that when we talk about being Jewish, then people listen. When we don't talk about it because of whether it's fear or whatever reason, when we don't, people don't listen. They don't know. People are lying about us. People are spreading falsehoods about us, and we need to fight back by speaking. So I think that there's three answers. One is get involved with what it is to be Jewish. 2 is speak up about it. And 3, make sure that you're consistent. Like I've been speaking, again, I have a branding agency. This is not what I do for a living. I speak in bad times, but I speak in good times too. It's a marathon. There's not going to be a short fix. It's going to be ugly for a while, Susie. You're going to be feeling alone and you're going to be isolated. But the more you speak up and the more that you can get 5 people in your circle around you to openly speak up, it means 5 more fucking people for that petition. It means 5 more people at that demonstration. It means 5 more people wearing a Magen David and not taking down the mezuzah. And it means 5 more allies saying, hold on a second, these people are okay. Why are you lying about them? It's a marathon. We haven't started yet. I'm not, but I don't want Miri, she was like, I'm like, we're fucked. We're fucked if we don't do anything. We're fucked if we don't do anything.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I go through since the 7th, I'm going through those waves of life is a shit to I'm so energized, I got this, let's go and fight. And I think, I'm relating to so many of the stuff you're saying because one of the things that I actively did after the 7th, well, there's a few of them. 1, I became an activist, which gave me strength. I think that doing for others is a way of healing. I'm a big believer in that, always have been. So, here in Massachusetts, I've been organizing all the mental health support for the Israeli immigrants, and that gave me so much. But very selfishly, it opened my connection in my community. So I got to know a lot of people, and I started being invited to like roundtables for people I've never met before, and they're very proud of being Jewish. And that gave me more strength. After I would come out so energized after those like round meetings. And then, so I'm a secular Jew as well. I was never in a temple. I think the last time I've been in temple was maybe for my older brother bar mitzvah, and he's 46. So it's been a while. And I raise my kids based on Jewish values because I'm deeply connected to Jewish values. And I end up joining a temple here, which I've never in my life thought I've ever going to do for my kids, because I want them to be proud. First of all, I want them to understand what it means to be Jewish. And I found this amazing temple that they're all about modernized Judaism and connecting to Jewish values. It's like I found like the perfect one. But that's what I want my kids to see, is the beauty that I grew up on, like what it's like to be Jewish. And another thing is, so I, as a therapist, every time I do public speaking or if I meet a new client, I always have my spiel. And part of my spiel was, hey, I'm going to be direct with you because I'm Israeli and that's what we do. Or when I do public speaking, I would say, hey, I have an accent. It's because I'm Israeli. And I stopped doing that for a while after October 7th. And then I was like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to hide who I am every time I'm seeing a new patient, every time I give a talk. Because what am I teaching my kids? What am I teaching my patients if I do that? I mean, they're going to find out I'm Israeli regardless. Might as well just put it out there. If you're going to hate me, just don't work with me. That's your choice. But I think to what you're saying, owning who you are is strength. And it's, I think, one of the antidote for trauma. I think there's something about owning, not being a victim, not just being resilient, because we know that Israelis are resilient and Jewish people are resilient, but thriving and being above that and being able to fight back or fight forward, I guess will be a better way of putting it, is absolutely the way to go. And hearing voices like you on the days that I'm down and going through like that up and down thing is what keeps me going.
I'm happy I'm happy that it's helping. And not just about being Jewish, owning who you are is having agency over who you are. It's a very important thing, and for Jewish people, our identity is so much a part of who we are. Like a black person can't hide it, which I think would be awful. You should never hide who you are unless you're evil incarnate, but we can hide it. And I think that's the problem. I think that we do hide it. Now, again, in the context of safety, you have to be careful, but you can say that you're Jewish. You can speak about the pain that you're going through when you see your Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel hurting. You shouldn't hide that from your community, from your non-Jewish community. You shouldn't worry about being, so what black people, when George Floyd happened, they can talk about it, but Jewish people decide that they can't. Fuck yeah, you can. I'm hurting. My community is suffering right now. I need you to understand what I'm going through. You don't hide it, because if you're hiding who you are when there's no real good reason to, not that there ever is, but let's just say that there's no good reason to hide it, then what message are you sending yourself about yourself? Now, that takes courage, and I know, I'm in Israel right now, but I grew up in London. I went to a Jewish school. I had the rocks thrown at me from opposing schools. I was roughed up on the way to the tube, for being Jewish, for being openly Jewish with the label of the school on my blazer and the kippah on my head, because we had to wear them. Yeah, it takes courage. It feels good too. Be who you are. I think, that's all I'm saying. Be who you are openly, not just inwardly to your community, but outwardly for people to see, because you will inspire yourself.
I love that so much. And it's on so many levels, you're incredibly, just bringing a lot to light for me. So I had brought up in a faculty meeting, I said, it's similar to George Floyd. We're hurting, we're scared, because people kept saying, well, there's two sides. I'm like, there's no two sides to anti-Semitism. I'm not sure what the other side is, that you're either anti-Semitic or you're not. I'm not sure what is.
But I think that if I may interrupt for a second, I had a conversation like that on the daily with one of my best friends who is not Jewish. He's American. He's black, married to a white woman. Amazing guy, brilliant. He doesn't get that, sometimes. I mean, he gets it, but they don't understand, and they don't understand because we're quiet, and we need to speak about it. We need to engage with our friends. There are people who are just haters, and we've all come across those people, and hopefully they're out of our lives. But then there are people who are genuinely confused, genuinely scared, especially in your culture in America, where you say the wrong thing. You say the wrong thing, you'll be canceled. You say the wrong thing, then you'll be deemed siding with an oppressor, siding with a colonialist, siding with a genocide supporter, siding with all that is frowned upon big time by your culture. But that's because our enemies have succeeded in their narrative and confusing the culture, of poisoning the culture against us. So it takes you to do the work to start turning it around. And that's what needs to happen. So speaking up is an opportunity. Like there's one line of jewelry which I really love. The I'm That Jew campaign that Miri, you brought up. It's about narrative. I have all these things that she sent me, and I wasn't organized for the podcast. But okay, well, I'll show you this. But so Miriam Marenfeld, we decided to put the phrases from the I'm That Jew banners on jewelry. And the reason that we did it is so that people would be able to talk about it. So on this, you can't see it, okay, but that's a bar. And there's a line there. And the line on this one says, that proud and unapologetic Zionist Jew. Okay, just for an example. But there's tens of different lines. So you wear that around your neck, and someone's going to come up to you and he's going to say, well, what does that say? And you're going to say, I'm that proud and unapologetic Zionist Jew. Oh, you're a Zionist? Yeah, I'm a Zionist. Well, what's a Zionist? Well, a Zionist is, and then you can have a conversation. So the reason why I love that is because you have all sorts of things that you can say. One of the lines is, I'm that Jewish mama Jew. I'm that proud to be a Jewish mother Jew. Or whatever it is, it's talking, it's using words. And I really believe that those conversations with people who don't understand are necessary, because I don't think that anyone who says these things are all anti-Semitic. I think that they genuinely don't know. Many have been brainwashed. Many are afraid to say the wrong thing, even though they've got a hunch that we're the good guys here, because we're not out there destroying property and chanting genocidal, but talking and engaging and not losing potential allies and calling everyone an anti-Semite is really important. So if you can't say it, then you can wear something that provokes a conversation, because I think conversations are important.
The confidence, I think, that you're exuding for people like me, especially who just came out, on October 8th. It's just, yeah, I appreciate just your voice. And to be honest, the post-traumatic growth that Miri and I talk a lot about for ourselves are these conversations, meeting with Israeli Jews, Israeli Arabs, Christians. Having these conversations has been so helpful for civil engagement, number one. And also, like you said, to be a proud Jew, which for my entire life, you could be proud inside the house, but when you go out, assimilate. So I'm just grateful for your voice beyond.
Thank you. I mean, we all have it in us. It requires a step. And maybe this is a good segue to, I know, the conclusion, but the first step is to say it, is to simply say you're Jewish in your house and to say it with your friends. And it doesn't need to be something that, yeah, I'm Jewish. Yeah, I'm Jewish. Like literally that. And that might start a conversation where then you have an opportunity right there to right the wrong of people lying about us that leads to our immense collective pain right now. And the sooner we all start saying it, the sooner we all... listen, by the way, saying that you're proud of being Jewish doesn't mean that we're perfect. And that's also something to say. I'm not talking about Israel. I'm just saying, we're people. But we're Jewish. Because if you don't, we're letting our enemies win, and our enemies, and we know this because we're Jewish, our enemies spread hatred and intolerance and division, and they want something that is not good. I do not believe it is good for the world. And we're not talking about Palestinian autonomy. We're talking about a people that stands for what we stand for is being vilified and lied about. And it's because we're outnumbered. So speaking starts with being able to say, I'm that Jew. And whatever Jew that is, you can change it every day. Today I'm this Jew, tomorrow I'm that whatever else Jew you want. But you're Jewish. You're a Jew. Own it. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, last two questions that we ask everybody. First one, what are you going to do for your healing this week?
Going to spend more time with my kids this week.
I love it. And the final question that we ask everyone is, what was it like to tell your story today?
It felt good. Us people in the direct line of fire out there on the digital space, it's pretty lonely. We're so busy putting stuff out there to try and strengthen people that I'm not very good at taking care of myself. So what you said before about, just talking about it, feels good and strengthens you. And, that's what I meant when I said lean into your community. So what it feels like at the end of this conversation is that I leaned into my community, and for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Eitan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for sharing, all of you. I appreciate your heartbeat.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you too. Thank you.
We'd like to thank our listeners, music composer Jonathan Bargiora, sound designer Ivan Reyes, podcast advisor Donna Fazari, and special thanks to the Academic Engagement Network for their generous support. Today's episode is co-produced by Professor Susie Hess and Dr. Miri Bar Halprin. Our Stories Matter, We Will Dance Again is brought to you by Trauma Informed LA. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and at our website at traumainformedla.org. Please give us 5 stars on iTunes so more folks can have access and donate to traumainformedla.org so we can keep recording and healing through our storytelling episodes.